Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the October 28, 2025 Millbrae City Council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. City Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Riley.
Here.
Councilmember Ronaldo.
Present.
Vice Mayor Holliber.
Present.
Mayor Fung.
Here.
All members of City Council are present.
Thank you so much. And for those who are able, would you please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Please be seated. We begin the meeting this evening with the ceremonial presentation proclaiming the month of October 2025 as Italian American Heritage Month. And joining us this evening, we have Gary Brandy, our own owners at the Leonardo Italian Deli and Cafe joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us, Gary, as always, and thanks for being here with us. And absolutely. And we'll start with our Vice Mayor.
Okay. Whereas the City of Millbrae recognizes the month of October 2025 as Italian American Heritage Month, which first received national recognition in 1989 with a proclamation issued by the United States Congress and President George H.W. Bush. And whereas Italian heritage is richly entwined in the history of the United States, and Italians and individuals of Italian descent have made remarkable contributions to the development of this country. And whereas the City of Millbrae is home to a proud and vibrant Italian-American community that has undoubtedly impacted our local culture and industry through their dedication, entrepreneurship, and commitment to family and community values. And whereas October has been designated Italian-American Heritage Month to celebrate the cultural heritage, achievements, and contributions of Italian Americans. And whereas celebrating Italian-American Heritage Month is an important opportunity to honor the traditions, history, and ongoing contributions of Italian Americans and to promote cultural understanding and appreciation for future generations. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Italian American Heritage Month.
And thank you so much. Gary, would you like to join us at the podium? Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting, and and I'm very proud to be an Italian American. So, and all my other fellow, so thank you.
As simple as that.
As simple. Keep it
Would you
simple.
would you like to join us for a bit of a photo?
I insist.
Please. That's the spirit. All right. Next up, we have a proclamation proclaiming the month of October 2025 as Native American Heritage Month. And joining us this evening virtually from the Association of Ramallah, we have the Greg Castro, from Cultural Director of the Association of Romatage Ohlone, joining us online today. And we have Councilmember Bob Nguyen.
Whereas the rich culture, traditions, and history of Native Americans have significantly shaped the heritage of the United States, enriching our nation's history, arts, and communities. And whereas on August 3rd, 1990, President George H.W. Bush declared the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month, therefore commonly referred to as Native American Heritage Month. And whereas Native American Heritage Month is celebrated each year in November to commemorate the history and culture of America's indigenous people. And whereas in Millbrae, we recall and recognize the original Native American inhabitants of Brahmatush Ohlone people. And whereas the Ohlone of the people of the West were distinguished by their peaceful pursuits, especially in agriculture, and held in profound reverence for the earth, believing in it was theirs for living and not for taking. And whereas today, Ohlone are the people who live as contemporary American, but because of their tenacity, generosity, foresight and of the elders and the interests of the young, the wisdom and the culture of the generations of Ohlone people have continued into the present as it is into the future. And whereas the city of Millbrae recognizes the honors, the history and contributions of the indigenous people who originally lived in this area, and whereas the city of Millbrae acknowledges and supports the continued strong relationship with the Brahmatush Ohlone and all indigenous people for prosperity, health, and highest of welfare. Now, therefore, we, the members of Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2025 as Native American Heritage Month.
Thank you so much. And joining us tonight, Greg Castro.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the mayor and the city council and the people of Millbrae for this honor. And I wish I was there tonight to be able to accept it in person and take pictures. But this is, as you might imagine, the busy time from late September, California Indigenous Days month, all the way into well into November. And so I apologize for not being able to be there, but I accept this greatly with honor and humility on behalf of Jonathan Cordero, Tribal Chair and Executive Director, and the Ramaytush people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And then we'll be sure to have you in our council chamber next time.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And then we have next up proclaiming the month of November 11, 2025 as Veterans Days. And joining us today, we have some of our veterans this evening. Thank you for joining us. We have Ed Tradishi, we have John Cooney, and also Bud Steinberg. We'll start with Councilmember Riley.
Whereas, throughout our nation's history, brave men and women have selflessly answered the call to serve in the United States Armed Force, defending our country and preserving our freedom. And whereas Veterans Day is dedicated to honoring the courage, dedication, and the sacrifice of all who have served in the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and the Space Force in times of peace and war across generations. And whereas the valor, patriotism, and the commitment of our veterans have been essential in shaping our nation's security and ensuring the preservation of our democracy and the way of life. Whereas it is fitting to acknowledge the extraordinary contribution and the service of these heroes who have given so much to protect and upholding the ideas upon which our nation was founded. Whereas November 11 marks the anniversary of the armistice not ended World War I, and this day has since been recognized as a time to honor all American veterans, both past and present, for their unwavering dedication to duty. And whereas on the Veterans Day, we express our deepest gratitude to all veterans and their families for their enduring sacrifice, resiliency, and commitment to principles of liberty and justice for all. And whereas they are building patriotism and enduring devotion to the ideas on which the United States is founded can never fail to inspire us. Now, therefore, we, the member of Millbrae City Council, to hereby proclaim November 11, 2025 as Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all of your contribution and sacrifice.
Thank you, Councilmember. Joining us this evening, we have our own very veterans, Mr. Cooney, Mr. Tudishi, and also Mr. Bud Steinberg. Would you like to take the stage, please? Yes. Good to see you.
I'm honored that I was asked to come tonight, and 71 years ago that I was in the service, and so a lot of memories and a lot of good things and bad things. But thank you for honoring us tonight, and we'll always remember it. As they say, thank you for your service.
I'm John Cooney. I served in the Army from 1966 to 1971. And it was an honor, if not a pleasure. Actually, it was a pleasure to serve. So thank you very much for the honor. I know that all the veterans are very much appreciative of being recognized, especially my generation, who sometimes feel that they were not at the time, but they are now. And thank you for that. So I'd like to read a quotation here that Senator Miller, now deceased, from Georgia. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us the freedom of speech. So I think that's something to dwell on and remember. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. And to our veterans and all those who serve, would you like to join us for a photo, please? I just also want to take this opportunity to thank our veterans and recognize, Mr. Cooney just said, freedom is not free. And many of us pay the price to protect our freedom and ensuring that our democracy stay intact. So thank you so much for all your sacrifices and all your dedication. I just cannot thank all of you enough. And any other council member would like to make comments? Councilmember Rinaldi.
Thanks, Mayor Fung. Just a quick comment to all those folks that served in the services. Thank you for your service. As you've heard multiple times tonight, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have our freedoms. So thank you and your friends that have made the sacrifices that they've made. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Riley.
I want to say thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate it from our bottom of heart. So we are invited you, veterans and the first responder. We're going to have November 11th at Veterans Day, have a flag race. And I'm going to sing God Bless America to all of you. And to appreciate your service, On November 25th, we're gonna have a dinner for veterans and our first responder. Please join with us from 5 to 7 o'clock in the jacuzzi room. Thank you.
Thank you for the announcement. Anyone else? All right, thank you so much, all the veterans who serve us. Thank you all. All right, next up, we have SamTrans Grand Boulevard presentation. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several representatives here this evening from SamTrans, the TA, and also from Caltrans. I'd like to introduce Millie Tolson from SamTrans to provide the briefing and presentation tonight to the City Council.
Thank you. Ms. Tolson?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Millie Tollison. I am the Director of Planning at SamTrans, and I am joined by a handful of folks that I just want to introduce real quick. I think we'll have a great set of folks to answer any questions that you might have. Joined by Patrick Gilster with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, Jake Buffenbarger with Caltrans District 4, Nikki from SamTrans, Deputy Project Manager on the Grand Boulevard Initiative. And I want to recognize online, we have Audrey, Shiramizu, and Kaki Chung from CCAG. So we have a large umbrella of folks who are working on this effort together. So this evening, I am here to give you an update on some of the recent work of the Grand Boulevard Initiative. We could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to start with a little bit of background. If you could go to the next slide. So what is the Grand Boulevard Initiative? The Grand Boulevard Initiative is a corridor-wide program with a goal of modernizing transportation infrastructure on El Camino Real, right outside here, close to where we are. As part of the Grand Boulevard Initiative, we are convening a task force of staff from cities, countywide agencies, Caltrans advocates, business groups, and other stakeholders, really with the goal of establishing a cohesive vision for the corridor throughout San Mateo County. And also working on building momentum toward truly implementing multimodal improvements on El Camino. Next slide, please. So again, just a little bit of history here. El Camino Real was really designed as a highway to move cars and people, but it currently has quite an auto-centric design, which prevents El Camino from reaching its full potential. So our goal is really to reimagine El Camino to meet 21st century mobility and safety needs for all users, transit riders, people using active transportation like bikes, walking, as well as drivers. And in addition to improving mobility and safety, a reimagined El Camino Real would also benefit local communities through placemaking, making it really a vibrant destination with restaurants and businesses, supporting economic vitality, and really there's also a lot of potential for including sustainability elements. Next slide, please. So a bit about the structure, we do have two groups that are meeting regularly. We have a task force, which is made up of city and agency staff, as well as advocacy groups and business groups. We also have a working group, which is a smaller group, city and agency staff only, really working on those details of implementation. And we've been so thankful to have regular, really active participation from Millbrae staff throughout this process. Next slide. And as I mentioned, we have a number of partners who are involved in this. SamTrans is leading this effort as a coordinator, so we're bringing everyone together to do this visioning and go through the Caltrans project development process together, but have really important support from our Transportation Authority, CCAG, Caltrans, as well as MTC, which has provided some funding for this effort. So the purpose of this slide is sort of just to show you that there's a lot going on the corridor. We are talking about 22 miles of roadway from Daly City all the way down to the border at Palo Alto. And cities, SamTrans, Caltrans, CCAG, and the TA are all involved in various transportation studies. Our goal with GBI is to knit everything together into a really cohesive corridor at the end of the day. And we're hoping that through our GBI action plan, which I'll talk about in a couple of slides, that will really be able to serve as the blueprint for a coordinated process where individual studies, perhaps at local jurisdiction level, will provide the design alternatives that will move into a Caltrans project development process. And in Millbrae, we know that there's a project just getting underway led by CCAG to consider roadway options for El Camino in the near term. And we also know that the city of Millbrae did adopt a long-term vision with the El Camino Real and downtown specific plan a couple of years ago. So we know we're not starting from scratch, and we're going to be working with your staff to incorporate that work. Okay, next slide, thank you. So just talking for a moment about the GBI action plan. Soon we're going to be publishing this document, which is the culmination of work by the task force and working groups that is, again, going to establish the needs for the corridor and that cohesive vision. And in addition, oh, I'm sorry, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So in addition to establishing that understanding of the corridor's needs, this document will also fulfill a Caltrans requirement for a feasibility study prior to starting a project initiation document. But hopefully this document will serve as a unified framework for moving through that Caltrans development process. Next slide. This slide is just meant to kind of demonstrate our process. So we've been getting a lot of input on this document, including being here with the city councils today. We're also going to be presenting this to the SamTrans and Transportation Authority boards in the coming months. Next slide. So I wanted to share a draft kind of vision statement that the working group created. And this was, again, the culmination of a couple of dozen people working together from all across the corridor to try and establish what would our vision for El Camino Real be if in 10 to 15 years we were successful at kind of reimagining that roadway. And you know, when you're bringing together a couple dozen people, everyone has different opinions and perspectives, but we all kind of landed on this vision statement, which is that in the future, El Camino Real would be a safe and vibrant street where people of all ages and abilities can travel comfortably. We also talked a lot about kind of establishing what are the problems or challenges on the roadway right now. And we came up with 3 priority problems to be solved. These are not the only challenges on the corridor, but these are kind of the 3 buckets that we think that GBI and working together, we're really well positioned to make some progress on. And the first one is around safety. So today, El Camino Real does have an unusually high, disproportionately high rate of fatal or serious injury crashes, particularly for people walking and biking. So our goal, our action moving forward is to adopt a safety-first mindset to eliminate fatal and serious injury crashes. The second challenge or problem that the corridor faces is that its current highway-like design does discourage walking, biking, and transit use. So our action, our goal, is to transform El Camino into a complete street that works for all users. And the third challenge that the group talked a lot about was that today, currently, it's really just a bit too challenging to develop, implement, and fund transportation projects on El Camino. So our goal is to create a new framework for change that aligns our vision, process, and funding, and part of that is really bringing a wide variety of stakeholders, including Caltrans, to the table early to move projects forward. Okay, so this slide just offers you some examples of some of the treatments and things that changes that we could see on the corridor. These are things that are demonstrated to help address the goals that I just talked about. And we know that not all of these will be implemented in every part of the corridor because the corridor is very different over those 22 miles. But this just gives you a flavor of some of the treatments that we are talking about at a staff level. And a lot of these are similar to things that were in the El Camino Real specific plan for Millbrae. Okay, I spoke a little bit to this, but just wanted to reinforce the idea that we know that there's a lot of work that's already been done at the local level. So we're going to be incorporating previous work and not starting from scratch. However, we really think part of the value of GBI is bringing people together in a forum to make sure that local plans don't conflict, but instead are complementary to each other, creating that really seamless, cohesive corridor experience. Okay, so just wrapping up here, I'm going to talk a little bit about next steps. If you could go to the next slide. So talking a little bit about timeline and cost. So we are currently in the box on the far left, which is the GBI action plan, that feasibility study that I talked about. We are planning to move into the project initiation document phase, which is the first step of the Caltrans process, early in 2026. That work is already funded through a grant that SamTrans received from MTC. So that will be a corridor-wide project initiation process. And then we'll move into 2 more design and engineering phases before moving into construction. And this is a fairly long process, typically about 8 to 10 years. But it is possible for Caltrans or other agencies to develop sort of small-scale spot improvements in the meantime, if there's a desire to do that at the local level. And then obviously the number on here is a pretty large number. Our estimation is that this would cost in the ballpark of $750 million to do a whole-scale streetscape improvement project for 22 miles of our corridor in San Mateo County. But we believe that by working together in a coordinated way, SamTrans and the TA can provide value in the areas of moving through that Caltrans process and also in helping to identify the funding that we will need. And I'd like to actually ask Patrick and Jake to come up and offer a few more remarks on that.
Thanks, Millie. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Patrick Gilster, the Director of Planning and Fund Management with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. For those that don't know who we are, we manage the Measure A and W sales taxes here in San Mateo County. They're each half-cent sales taxes that go directly to projects that fund transportation elements across the county. So the Transportation Authority is here to show our support on behalf of our agency, which has prioritized supporting the Grand Boulevard Initiative in our strategic plan. And we are the primary funder in the county, as I mentioned, for many of these projects. So El Camino Real is designated as a street of countywide significance to us, which means we can provide up to half of the funding towards that $750 million marker. The caveat to that is our highway programs. Each Measure A and Measure W has a highway program that can support these funding, but we won't be able to fund all that at once. So part of our strengths in working together is how do we phase these over time and actually help the cities support what you want to see and get your vision out there on the ground. So we're here to help SamTrans and partner with Caltrans to make sure everything we're doing is aligned and that our funding can best support your local vision. With that, I will pass it off to Jake.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Jake Buffenbarger. I'm the System Planning Branch Chief at Caltrans D4 for Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo counties. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Caltrans and our partnership. Caltrans is required to engage in long-range corridor planning for the facilities that we own and operate, which includes Highway 82 or El Camino Real. How we do this has changed in the last few years. Now our most robust long-range planning document is called the Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan, or CMCP for short. And essentially this document explores the existing and future conditions of a facility and recommends projects to improve it. The document tackles a wide range of issues and examines all modes of travel. And while District 4 has completed many CMCPs for traditional highway or traditional freeway facilities, this is one of our first CMCPs for what we call a conventional highway, especially one that runs through so many different local jurisdictions as a main street. And so because of that the critical nature and unique features of El Camino Real, we're adjusting our standard operating procedure for this CMCP. because we understand that on a corridor like this, it really takes extensive partnerships with regional and local stakeholders, and that's why we're so pleased to partner with SamTrans, the TA, CCAG, and all the various cities in San Mateo County. We plan to directly incorporate both the vision from the GBI and the projects determined within it in the action plan into the CMCP. And we plan to use the GBI stakeholder framework that they've created to be the backbone of our own engagement strategy as we move throughout our planning process. Thank you.
Okay, so just 2 more slides here. Next slide, please. So I think part of what we're really here to do at this meeting and as part of the roadshow that we're doing city council meetings at each of our city partners over the last month and kind of in the next couple weeks, is really kind of explaining why we really want cities to continue to be part of GBI, go through this process together. We really feel like by embarking on a coordinated Caltrans process, we hope that it's sort of relieving and we're reducing the burden on local jurisdictions. We know that your staff has a lot of other priorities, but by working together, hopefully we can move through this Caltrans process, which is fairly burdensome, together. We think that there's also going to be financial kind of economies of scale of doing this together. The PID that we're about to embark on, we've secured $2.5 million to do that. We also think that, again, sort of identifying funding for future phases will be more competitive if we work together and bundle kind of cities together and talk about this as a comprehensive and cohesive corridor. We do believe that if Millbrae or just any cities sort of went through this process independently, an individual PID for an individual city could be $2 million in itself. So hopefully, you know, what we're hearing is that there can be some economies of scale by doing this together. So my final slide, if you could go to the next slide, is an invitation for some discussion. I know you have a full agenda tonight, so happy to take any thoughts on any of these questions, if any of these resonate with you, or anything comes to mind, or of course, happy to answer any clarifying questions that you might have. But thank you for the time to be here tonight.
Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to open it up for the council for questions and comments first. Anyone? Oh, okay. Councilmember Nguyen.
So that was good, high-level vision and scheduling, it looks like, from your slide deck. My questions are more on the details. Can you provide examples of proposed changes that you have? I'd like to see what our dollars are going to be used for. And 2 is the KPIs. Like, what are you guys tracking to say that we need this money and improve the infrastructure? Like, what are the metrics, like LOS? Maybe if you can shed some light on that, that'll help me understand what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of the details of the sort of cross sections that we're actually talking about with the roadway, like I said, we are starting from the, what we've heard from your staff is that the preference is to start from the El Camino Real specific plan, which was adopted, I believe, in 2022. My understanding is that that includes protected bike lanes, as well as reduction of travel lanes by 1 lane, I believe. You all know this better than I do. So that's going to be our starting point, just as an example of sort of the type of treatments that we would be talking about. You know, improved crosswalks, improved lighting, things like that, that just make the roadway safer for pedestrians and for bicyclists and transit riders. So hopefully that offers you a little bit of the examples of the type of treatments.
If we had to quantify what safer means, right? Like, we need to be able to measure, like, what is that? Like, incidences reduced?
Yeah, I mean, the wording that we're using is to eliminate fatal and serious injury crashes for pedestrians and other active transportation users. So, you know, it's kind of like Vision Zero. Our goal is to eliminate, or our goal that we've talked about at staff level is to eliminate fatal injuries for pedestrians.
What about throughput, though? Like mobility as well, right? Is there metrics on that?
So if I could, I'd like to get back to you on the KPIs. I'm happy to do that. We're still kind of talking about KPIs to include in the action plan. LOS is not really used as much anymore, level of service, but things like vehicle miles traveled, VMT, and person throughput tends to be more of the metric. So we would be looking to move more people, not just more cars, but more people through the corridor on different modes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Rinaldi.
Thanks. I just wanted to follow up on Councilmember Nguyen's questions. In particular, on one of these slides previous, I saw the number 750 million for the total project. I'm curious to understand how much Millbrae section is going to cost. Also mentioned was that, I believe it was the TA that would cover half that cost. But then where's the other half of the cost coming from? As you know, we've got a lot of roads to repave here, and our city manager will tell you $10 in needs and $1 a budget. Is that it?
With this group, 50 cents.
Patrick Gilster.
Because we just want more from the TA, that's all, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Patrick Gilster, Director of Planning and Fund Management for the TA. Our hope with this is that the Transportation Authority would not only help provide that 50% contribution towards that, but that we would also be working to partner and using our grants experts that work with the district, so both SamTrans and the Transportation Authority and Caltrain, that actually they're used to going after these large-scale grants for those. And so our hope is that by, as Millie mentioned, bringing in external funding from the state programs and federal programs to actually offset the cost to any one individual city. Our hope is to, I think as you're pointing out, minimize the level of the funds that any city would have to pay to get those delivered. So as Millie mentioned, the larger and more impactful we make these projects across city boundaries, the more we can qualify for those bigger state and federal programs to reduce that burden. The Millbrae section in particular, I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head. I don't know if.
Well, I think the estimate on the slide was about 13 million.
13 million in total between, or is that 13 million that would be our portion?
There was a slide, perhaps you can go back to the slide.
I think that's just for the project development phases.
Yeah, those.
Bulb 2?
Yeah, so that would just be to develop the project, not the construction cost. So the 13 million is pretty standard for a major Caltrans project. And so the idea being the economies of scale is that we could do those hopefully once or twice or maybe 3 times in certain clusters of projects as we move forward, as opposed to if the Transportation Authority gets asked to fund all of those cycles, a lot of that money is going to pre-construction money and not constructing the individual projects. So trying to save that money to help leverage to get that other external grant funding for us. My off-the-cuff assessment would be it's probably anywhere from $30 to $50 million for the segment in Millbrae.
So that'd be total
For
cost,
construction.
30 to 50 million. So
That would
we
be in
have to-
addition to the 13 million.
So we'd be on the line to pony up half of that. So roughly 15 to 25 million.
Yeah, so the Transportation Authority would likely bring in about the $25 million marker, and then we'd have to figure out how do we go get external funding to fill that other 25 million.
Great. My only final closing comment would be to piggyback off what Councilmember Nguyen said and echo it. I think we need to understand the LOS, the level of service, as well as the KPIs, key performance indicators, to really understand, how these dollars are spent and that they're being spent properly.
Yeah, and that's something the project initiation document will look at, and the transportation analysis that will continue to happen as part of the next phase that looks at not only the Millbrae's preferred alternative, as Millie mentioned, but potentially another alternative. Caltrans normally makes us look at a few different alternatives so we can compare what those level of service and other transportation metrics are.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation tonight.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you very much for that presentation. So in terms of other funding sources, do you think maybe OBAG funding may be available as well, or?
You can tell this is the area I live in, is the transportation finance. OBAG is generally probably not the best source for this, as these are going to be large-scale projects, and those have very strict timelines on them. We're probably looking at the state-level programs like Solutions for Congested Corridors that Caltrans runs, the local partnership program with the state as well. So CCAG and the Transportation Authority, because we're self-help county, meaning we have our own sales tax transportation measures, we qualify for this other fund source as our agencies, so we can tap into they can give contributions of up to $25 million per project in those programs. So those are the good programs where we can fit these larger projects in there, especially the ones that have transit elements that look at helping serve more people in person throughput.
Okay. And obviously, we won't be able to fund, the whole 750. And that number probably is only going in one direction, right? Over the next decade or so. So I assume, I don't know how you envision this, but would you maybe think of this as, different projects that are identified along the corridor and maybe like, the higher priority projects, maybe get the first crack at funding and go from there?
I think it's the art more than a science in the next phase of this, that I think we're looking at which cities have the political backing that want to do these things and have the support for those. I think some cities that aren't as far along as Millbrae with having some idea of what you want to do, it might take a little more to come along with that way. So we'll be looking at which cities have the most support locally to move projects forward, and also which ones can maximize those state programs and which ones are ready to coordinate across jurisdictional boundaries. So to actually make those kind of clusters of projects.
Okay. And then one last question. In addition to the actual corridor itself, or maybe as part of this, are you also looking at ways that people, vehicles, bicycles get on and off of the El Camino corridor? Because that has been one of the biggest challenges in Millbrae, particularly the Millbrae Avenue, El Camino intersection. As part of our plan, we have a second right turn lane going on to El Camino. I don't want to put the Caltrans person on the spot, but we have not gotten Caltrans approval for that yet.
Okay, that's why he's here.
Yeah.
to go on the spot. So we are taking a fairly narrow view of El Camino as a north-south corridor. We aren't ignoring kind of what's going on in the approaches, but we are pretty much focused on that north-south movement. Of course, we want to understand if there's any negative impacts to the east-west travel from any of the alternatives. That will be part of the transportation analysis that Patrick mentioned. I will say that we are looking at bike facilities in particular, both the potential for them on El Camino, as well as some cities like South San Francisco they have the Centennial Way Trail that's runs parallel to El Camino Real. So, South San Francisco is sort of thinking about do we want to have bike lanes on El Camino, or are people just going to prefer to ride on that off-street multi-use path anyway? So in that respect, we are looking a little bit off of El Camino to understand the full bike network and its approach, but making sure that we have a comprehensive bike network north-south is really important.
I will say, related to your question, the Transportation Authority has a separate but kind of similar effort called 101 Corridor Connect. Mayor Fung will hear about this next month at our meeting. So our North County multimodal strategy does look and prioritize the other types of major facilities that look at traffic relief and safety that aren't just El Camino Real. So El Camino Real is also prioritized in that. But Millbrae Avenue, the SFO Bay Trail Gap Closure Trail projects are also identified in there as well. So those are a priority to the transportation, or will be pending adoption later next month, priority projects for the Transportation Authority to help with as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, anyone else? Okay, sounds good. Now I don't have any speaker slips on this item, although I got 4 hand raised online. I just want to confirm if any one of those 4 is for this particular item or is it for public comment? And for those who want to speak on behalf of the SamTrans Grand Boulevard Initiative, you can keep your hands raised. Otherwise, you can lower your hand, and when we're done with this item, you can raise your hand again for public comment. So it looks like we have 2.
All right, the first speaker is Rick St. John. Please accept the unmute, and this is for the SamTrans Grand Boulevard presentation. Okay, so the next speaker is Ann Snyder. Please go ahead and accept the unmute, and this is for the Grand Boulevard presentation.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Ann Schneider, I live on Palm Avenue. I've been in the city since 1967, except for college. I'm also a former chair of CCAG BPAC. My questions to the staff, and I think it's fabulous that SMTA is coming to Millbrae and that Caltrain are moving to Millbrae, because you'll start getting a northern county reference point instead of being mid-South County reference. But I was also Grand Boulevard for the city when it was actually terminated for elected officials. So I'm curious to see, I forgot that it was all put in staff's hand, and here's what we're seeing basically 5 years later. That said, parts of your area from Menlo Park to Daly City have already been working on Grand Boulevard design, have already put money into it. South San Francisco, Brisbane just received a little over $4 million to work on their portion of El Camino Real. So when you talk about financing, are you looking, Burlingame, Caltran has been working with Burlingame, so I assume some of that is already funded. I think the next time you come back to the people of Millbrae, including our elected representatives, but to the people who are watching, let us know what's happened in these other cities where they've already gotten that money to do that. The other thing, when I was on BPAC about 1.5 years ago, Caltran Division 4 Bike Pedestrian Group came down and talked about their plan. Their plan for El Camino was to take out the median strip and put the bike lanes right down the middle. Now, Millbrae is heavily impacted by noise, more so than any other community in San Mateo County. And all of you need to take that into consideration. When the managed lane project was there was no restoration of plants on 101. There was no fixing of floodwater ending up in Millbrae as opposed to the bay. So I know you guys want to concentrate on bike pedestrian. Yay, I agree with that. But we have special problems that have been ignored, and in all of the environmental documents from all of these big agencies, SFO, Caltran, it clearly states, Millbrae, you will suffer but must do so for the regional good. That time has to end. I wish you the best of luck. I'm very, even the Caltran Burlingame included a block of Millbrae without ever clarifying or bringing Millbrae into that. So I hope that we act for Millbrae City Council and not for the region. It is well past the time that we stand up for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other hand raised online?
No other hands raised.
We have an in-chamber speaker. We have Vernon Bruce. Please join us at the podium.
Mayor Fung, City Council, everyone else. My name is Vern Bruce. I live at 1250 El Camino Real. I have a shop at 311 El Camino Real for many years. I find it very hard to believe that a highway that was designed for 6 lanes decades ago, the amount of traffic then, is going to be sufficient to be 4 or 5 possibly lanes now. I just can't see the justification for what would probably be the same unused bicycle lanes that I see now on El Camino. I see that as just simply a problem that we'll find out, unfortunately, after it's been done, as we found in local communities such as San Mateo. The traffic is backed up pretty much to my shop, which is a 1/3 of a mile up from Millbrae Avenue. It frequently, in the middle of the day, is backed up to there. Don't see where eliminating another lane of traffic, probably on each side of the street, meaning we'd only have 4 lanes. We can socially engineer us into not driving cars, but I don't think that's going to work that way. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Vern. All right, so that wraps up all the public comment. Any final comment from this council? Thank you so much, TA, Caltrain, and SamTrans for being here today. All right, so moving on to the second part of the item. Second part of the agenda item is the agenda overview and staff briefing. We have our City Manager, Tom Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening to you, members of the City Council. Tom Williams, City Manager. So we have a very busy next couple of weeks that I'd like to share with you. If we can just move to the briefing slides. So starting tomorrow night, starting at 6 p.m., ending at 9 p.m. at the Millbrae Recreation Center, we have a community meeting regarding the bicycle route design on Murchison. So we're asking members of the public to join the meeting, learn about the design that will accommodate parking and dedicated bike lanes and improvements along Murchison from California Drive through Mills High School. And then, again, this is a joint project between the city of Millbrae and the city of Burlingame. So attendees can view plans, chat with city staff, and provide input on the design. So that is tomorrow night at the Millbrae Recreation Center, second story art room from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Also, on Saturday, November 1st, we have on the bag there, and here's one that the council received earlier. And this is a tote bag that you could use for grocery shopping or whatever. It was designed through a program this last summer at our summer camp. And so the summer camp children and attendees designed this art for the tote bag. So they'll be given away at the farmer's market from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a first come, first serve. And again, they're reusable bags for grocery store shopping, et cetera. So I wanted to bring that to the community's attention. Also, Wednesday, November 5th, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Millbrae Recreation Center, we have an event that will be hosted by the California Green Business Network. Attendees can celebrate along local green businesses, community leaders, and program partners, learn about the success of green business and the ideas under which these green businesses have thrived and looking towards the future. So that's a green business mixer, Wednesday, November 5th, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Millbrae Recreation Center. Friday, November 7th at 6 p.m. at Avia Labs, which is the name of the Longfellow Biotech campus at 210 Adrian Road on the third floor. The city will be hosting the annual State of the City address by Mayor Anders Fung. You'll hear about the progress that we made over the past year, discover completed projects and progress projects and upcoming projects, and learn about Millbrae's future as it's envisioned in our very specific plans and goal setting by the City Council. So that's November 7th, 6 p.m. Avia Labs at 210 Adrian Road on the third floor. And I hope a lot of people show up because getting to see the inside of this new office and campus is fabulous. So hopefully we get a big turnout and we can share in a great success in public-private partnership with Longfellow. Also, that evening, Friday, November 7th, from 6 to 8 p.m. is Dia de los Muertos. This is hosted by the Millbrae Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. There's music, art, and dance that people can explore the rich culture and traditions of the festivities and holiday. Contribute to our community ofrenda and honor the memory of those who have passed. So again, this is Friday, November 7th, from 6 to 8 p.m. People can start bringing items in on October 30th. Bring photographs, mementos to the Recreation Center lobby to be displayed through November 7th. Also, we have a lawn replacement seminar, Lawn Replacement 101. That's Saturday, November 8th from 10 a.m. to 11:30, also at the Millbrae Recreation Center. The instructor will be Frank Nicoli, who will discuss and people can learn about how to transform their lawn into beautiful landscape that is water efficient and drought tolerant. So this is a really nice program, especially here in California, for drought tolerant design strategies and creating sustainable gardens, proper plant establishment techniques, and best irrigation practices. So really a nice program, Lawn Replacement 101, Saturday, November 8th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Millbrae Recreation Center. Also Tuesday, 2 weeks from today, November 11th at 9 a.m. Is Veterans Day, and we will have our annual Veterans Day salute and flag raising presentation. This will be at the Plaza at 500 Broadway. This is the plaza we held it for the first time last year at Leonardo's Deli and Bank of the Orient. And so please, everybody come celebrate with our veterans. Everyone's welcome. There'll be coffee and refreshments served. Lastly, a couple of items that I don't have slides for. I had mentioned the goats up in the, oh, here they are. here are the goats. And there's a really bad, I can't even say it, a VOD joke about the bye-bye, ba-ba goats leaving tomorrow. There's been about, I think, 75 goats that have done a tremendous job.
Did we invite them for public comments?
As long as they're on a leash. Weed abatement, fire, obviously fire abatement for the brush at the park on the end of Taylor Boulevard. And so it was a pilot project, a few hiccups. Really would like to appreciate the partnership with the surrounding neighbors that put up, because there were a couple of days where the goats got out. We got phone calls very early in the morning. I think Ava was getting phone calls about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. But to the neighbors, we would like to thank them. We know they had to tolerate some things, but we appreciate the partnership. And so tomorrow will be the last day. Also, this Friday is October 31st, which is Halloween. Millbrae gets very busy on Halloween, especially along Taylor Boulevard from Broadway and Murchison all the way up to Taylor Middle School. So we just wanted to remind everyone to drive slow, pedestrians use crosswalks, look both ways, and everyone please be very, very safe. We have coordinated with the Sheriff's Department for crowd control and, if necessary, rolling street closures for pedestrian protection in the Taylor Boulevard area. So that's this Friday. Happy Halloween, everybody, and just please be safe. Then lastly, we'd like to congratulate the Mills High School girls golf team. They ended the season with a record of 9-1, and they've advanced to the PAL championship as well as the Central Coast Section CIF playoffs. So great job to the Mills High School girls golf team for going 9-1 and playing in the championship here to represent the city of Millbrae and Mills High School. So great job. And Mayor, that concludes a very brief update of everything happening in Millbrae the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much for the update. Any other comment from the councils? Okay. Moving on to approval of meeting minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of October 14, 2025, and the closed session meeting minutes on October 14, 2025. Any comments or questions or discussions? I'd like to entertain a motion if you don't have any. And we can use the machine today. There we go. We have a motion from Councilmember Rinaldi and a second from Councilmember Nguyen. Any final comment? Your votes, please.
The two set of meeting minutes passed by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 4. We don't have any oral reports from city committees and commission chair this evening. And moving on to public communications. And this is the portion of the agenda is reserved for those who wish to comment on items not appearing on tonight's agenda. However, speaker must address subject matters within the jurisdictions of the City Council. Every speaker will have 3 minutes tonight, and the speaker is to address directly to the entire council and not to the individual council members nor to the public. I have one speaker slip in chamber, and I used to see 4 hands raised online. You're welcome to raise your hand right now, and then we'll take you after the in-chamber speaker is completed. We'll start with Kathleen Guerin, please.
Good evening, City Council and City staff. My name is Kathleen Guerin, and I am the chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee here in Millbrae, acronym EDAC, and I'm here to promote our next event that we're having. As some of you may know, we have a small business educational series that we're doing, and we are on our second event, which will be on November 18th, and this is a small business mixer. Everyone is welcome. We hope that you can join us, and we're looking forward to having many of our business owners that they can network with each other. We'll also have free food, so please come, mark your calendars, and hope to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Guerin. Moving on to online speaker, please. City Clerk.
First speaker is Robert Van Gool. Please accept the unmute.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. I'm part of the Millbrae dog owners group. And we just want to let you know that we are very appreciative that you have made it an agenda item, item number 9. I have personally reviewed it, and the analysis.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, so sorry to interrupt the speaker, but this is an item that is on the agenda, so it's appropriate for the person to address the council when the agenda item comes up. This is public comment for any item not on the agenda, but I'll look to the city attorney to.
My apologies.
No, that's okay.
That's correct. If the public comment pertains to an agendized item, then it should be taken at that time.
Got it. Yeah, we were a little confused here, but thank you. Okay, I'll lower my hand and raise it again later. Thank you.
We'll see you at around item number 9. Thank you, Mr. Van Gogh.
All right, the next speaker is Ann Snyder. Please accept the mute.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to congratulate City Council for adding to the list of proclamations the Italian American month on that. I couldn't see the photographs. I don't know if many Italians showed up. I hope they did. I do want to let the public know that as a former exchange student in Italy, a wannabe Italian who speaks just a tiny bit of Italian, that I am currently reaching out to the people of Millbrae to find out where they live and if they still have family in Italy for a potential future sister city in Italy. So most of the folks, if you're listening, you know how to reach me, you know how to find me on Nextdoor. If not, find someone who can, the city clerk can refer people to me. This is just me, Ann Schneider, working on gathering our Italians and people who love Italians together to create, hopefully, a future sister city. Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is iPhone 16. Please accept the mute and state your name for the record.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to let you know that I am Italian. I live in the Bay. I live in Millbrae, and I'm happy to connect with you.
Would you like to state your name?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Christina Spagnoli.
Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. If that's all the hand raised online, I have one more item in chamber. Ms. Marian Kong.
Good evening, everyone. This is from my own personal perspective. It is my privilege to stand before you today to recognize the council member Wayne, Wiley, and Ronaldi as they complete their first year in office, a year marked by dedication, action, and meaningful progress for our community. Councilmember Wayne has been a driving force of improving safety and quality of life, especially in District 4. By working closely with the Sheriff Department, Wayne has helped calm traffic throughout the city, make our streets safer for everyone. He has also stayed true to his campaign promise of supporting local businesses, meeting with the retail owner and gathering their voices to ensure that our business community thrive. Council Member Riley has distinguished herself as a true listener and advocate for residents. She held 2 listening sessions to hear directly from the community and visited numerous retail businesses to understand their needs and concerns. Riley's promotion of the monthly night market at the Station 16 has brought vibrancy to our city, attracting visitors from the San Francisco all the way to Fremont to boost the local commerce. She has also worked with officials to address the parking availability, making it easier for residents and visitors to enjoy all our city has to offer. Councilmember Ronaldi has also contributed greatly to our progress this year. She has worked on the increasing the pickleball court availability, supported the new park development, and is a certified CERT member, demonstrating his commitment to the public safety and emergency preparedness. When it comes to the shaping of the council organization chart, and it is essential that we put each council member's accomplishment into considerations. Their unique contribution and strength should guide how we assign responsibility and leadership roles. We want to ensure that our council is not only well-organized, but also positioned to lead Millbrae toward a more prosperous future. I would like to also to acknowledge Councilmember Holliber, who bring many years of civic experience to our team. As we look ahead in 2026, his leadership and deep understanding of our community will be invaluable in guiding the council to help and helping Millbrae reach new heights. Before I close, I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mayor Fung for his dedicated service and leadership as mayor. The Millbrae is doing good, is being strong, but these days we have been bothered by a news from the TV station. So I actually encourage our council to work with the county to give our resident an answer.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment. So that wraps up public communication this evening. And moving on to consent calendar, we have item 5, 6, and 7. Item 5, receive and file monthly general fund financial report for the period ending September 30th, 2025. Item 6, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Invoice Cloud for payment processing for permits. Item 7, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn for implementation of the city's of Millbrae's parking management program in an amount not to exceed $417,500. And does anyone pull any item from the consent calendar? Any public comment on any of these consent calendar items? Would entertain a motion? Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Nguyen and a second from the Vice Mayor. Final comments? Council, please cast your vote.
The consent calendar passed by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. We do not have a public hearing this evening, nor any existing businesses. Moving on to new business on item number 8. Waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance amending Title IX of the Millbrae Municipal Code and adopting by reference the 2025 California Building Standard Code and the 2025 Administrative Code, and set public hearing on adoption of ordinances for November 25th, 2025. Mr. Tom Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have Mr. Andy Momistar, Community Development Director, and also our Chief Building Official, Mr. Kayvon Ranajad, for the staff presentation this evening.
Excellent.
I also want to thank Patty Koch, our Fire Marshal, and Julie Parenti, our Deputy Fire Marshal, for also joining us this evening.
Mr. Chief Building Official.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and member of City Council. I'm pleased to be here for adoption of the 2025 California Code of Regulations, Title 24 with local amendments, 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code, and 2024 International Property Maintenance Code. Next slide, please. California Health and Safety Code Section 17958 mandates the California Building Standards Commission to adopt and publish the new state model building codes, Title 24, California Code of Regulations, every 3 years. The state model building codes become the default code of City of Millbrae effective January 1st, 2026. As a background, next slide, please. These codes will apply to the cities and counties on January 1st, 2026. California Health and Safety Code Section 17958 and 17922 provides local jurisdictions the opportunity to modify the state standard codes based on local climatic, geological, or topographic conditions. The proposed ordinance carry forward existing local amendment without modifications. I'd like to add to that, based on the AB 130, city and county are prohibited from making any new amendments to already existing ordinance as of October 1st, 2025. During the state code adoption cycle, the requirement for fire hazard zones that became effective on June 27, 2025, were removed from the Building and Fire Code and relocated to a new code, the 2025 California Wild and Urban Interface Code, California Code of Regulation, Title 24, Part 7. Please. The ordinance is exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, the CEQA, pursuant to Title 14 of the California Code of Regulations, Section 1506, 15061B3, and 15378B5, because the ordinance is not a project that has a potential cause of significant effect to environment. Our recommendation: introduce, read by title only, and waive further reading of the ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Millbrae, amending Title 9 of the Millbrae Municipal Code and adopting by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code, 2025 California Wild and Urban Interface Code, and 2024 International Property Maintenance Code, and to set public hearing on adoption of the ordinance for November 25th, 2025. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Building Official. Anyone here on the council for our Chief Building Official? No? Okay, all right. We're good. Thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to know for the council and for the public, and as Mr. Aranajan mentioned, so we spent a lot of time in previous councils for reach codes and electrification of buildings.
Yes.
That remains in this code adoption.
Yes.
As it works its way through the courts, when it does, when we get direction from the courts, if it is implementable, then that would be implemented again. So I just want to bring that to the council's attention. That remains in this building code.
And if I may add to that, the reach code has been in effect since 2021. And the way we did our reach code, we allow still use of the gas if the electricity is not possible. For example, for the restaurant, for the labs, for technology, when their equipments cannot be used by electricity, they can use gas. And we have no, that's what made our ordinance different than some cities like Berkeley did, because they prohibit use of gas. We don't have that case. And in the cases, obviously we promote electrification for all the single family, all the new residences to use electrical in lieu of the gas. But if there is no possible, we allow and consider that on case-by-case basis get reviewed by myself and the Community Development Director.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you all.
I do want to note for the record that there was one minor edit to the ordinance. It's in your purple folder. There was one code section of CEQA that was inadvertently omitted, and so that was added into section 6 under there's 2 exemptions that apply.
Okay.
And that's been updated on the website.
All right, so before we move on, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Mayor.
Okay, all right, sounds good. This is an action item. I think we do need to have a motion and a vote. Okay. Your votes, please.
Okay.
You want to do a vote? You got it? Okay.
The motion for item 8 passed by 5-0.
Thank you so much. All right. Moving on to item number 9, consider council members' request for an off-leash dog park hour at Central Park. Mr. Tom Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was discussed at the last meeting under public comment. It was Councilmember Rinaldi had requested this be placed on the agenda for discussion. Just to remind the council that any item that's requested by the public or a council member pursuant to the protocols that takes more than 2 hours of staff time in aggregate is to be brought back to the council for discussion and direction, meaning that the council so desires as a majority for us to proceed with the item and commence with work, we will do that, obviously. In regard to this item in the staff report, we currently have ordinance number 810 and Millbrae Municipal Code Section 6.04060, which is, as it's read in the ordinance, prohibited contact states the following, that no owner or other persons having care, custody, or control of any animal shall cause or permit it to do any of the following. And one of those is A, to be upon any public street, sidewalk, park, school ground, any public property, or upon any unenclosed premises in this jurisdiction unless the animal is properly licensed, if such license is necessary. And number two, the animal is controlled, and I think this is in the ordinance, so I don't want to bring to the council's attention. The animal is controlled by chain, lead rope, or leash, which is connected to the animal's collar, saddle, harness, or halter. This latter requirement is not applicable to cats or service animals under the complete control of the owner or caretaker. So this is existing law that all animals and pets must be on leash on public property. And so this is the discussion of an idea, should the council choose to direct staff to proceed with a feasibility analysis of off-leash dog hours, specifically at Central Park, as I understand it.
All right, so why don't we give this moment to Councilmember Rinaldi? You request this item to be placed on the agenda.
Sure, thank you, Mayor Fung. So over the course of the last couple months, working at the Park and Recreation Commission as a liaison for council, it's come up quite a few times during public comment, the need for a dog park. And right now, we have two new parks that one's just at this morning. We're building a dog run for large dogs, small dogs. This group in particular is looking for access to Central Park to have off-leash hours. Their request has come up quite a few times, stating that they wanted 2 periods, one in the morning, one in the evening, so their dogs can get out and exercise. So being that the request is primarily around Central Park, thought it would be a great idea to have this discussion to see if we want to entertain the off-leash hours. So with that being said, I'll start the conversation by saying one of the key things that I'd commented to the city manager this morning regarding the staff report was that I didn't see anything regarding our insurance through ABAG, whether these off-leash hours would impact it financially and what that would look like. And I do understand the city manager explained to me this morning that part of the process for anything that's going to take more than 2 hours of staff time would have to have conversation with the council to direct the staff to do so.
All right, Councilmember Nguyen.
More of a question. Do we understand the liability? Let's say I'm not saying we're going forward or not, but in the hypothetical sense that we're going forward with it, what would the liability potentially look like with off-leash hours?
Well, so before we turn to the city attorney, I mean, this is part of the research, right? I mean, it's something that I think is more involved because I do think there's case law with animals that have attacked people that are leashed. I don't think there is much out there in terms of the insurance industry if a city by law allows off-leash pets or dogs. I do think it would increase our exposure and liability significantly, but I'll hand it over to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. So we did a little bit of research into this, and there is no state law requirement for all dogs to be leashed while in public. So it's really a case-by-case basis based on the city, and currently the municipal code in Millbrae prohibits dogs to be unleashed while in public. So if you were to change that to allow dogs to be unleashed in Central Park, that would mean that you would need to first amend the municipal code to allow for that. As for the liability, that's something we would have to look into. I know there is a government code section, 831.7.5, which provides that a public entity that owns or operates a dog park shall not be held liable for injury or death that's resulting solely from the actions of a dog in the dog park. We haven't seen any case law on that statute yet. However, it seems like it would be really fact-intensive, the inquiry, and it may go to whether cities have put up proper warnings, proper signage, et cetera. But so far, we do believe, that the liability is something that would need to be seriously considered. And if the city council directs further action, that's something that we would look into.
So I think for clarity, with the city attorney, that's in dog parks. That's in fenced areas, dog parks that are protected from other members of the public.
Are there any other considerations that we should be thinking about? Liability being one, obviously, but anything else from a legal perspective?
Liability is what we look at the most. But I think the logistics, that the cost of signage or other preventative measures. And, of course, looking at the needs of the community to see if they can be met by allowing dog parks that are fenced. So, but I can't think of other legal issues at this.
I mean, I would agree with that, right? I mean, we have to think of, obviously there's a need. We've heard it with some of our park planning efforts and needs assessment, reaching out to the community, that there's definitely a need to accommodate pet and dog owners. I think to your point, council member, Central Park is very busy with people that have, picnics. They reserve our picnic areas. We have a very large children's playground. We have elderly people that use our perimeter path. And I just think that the access and enjoyment of everybody would be diminished if there were dogs off leash and they weren't controlled within a dog park. And in terms of signage, if you've been to the area in our other parks, we have pretty significant signage that says dogs must be on leashes with this section of the municipal code cited. Another problem that we have, it's kind of a little bit different than this, is under the municipal code, dogs and animals are not permitted on any of our school ground facilities. And, if you go to Taylor any Sunday morning or Saturday morning or any evening during the week, there's a significant amount of people that use that park for dogs. And so the impact and complaints that we receive from AYSO, Millbrae girls softball, Lions baseball, there's always that conflict. So from my opinion, I think us accommodating and building dog parks to meet the demand is the best way to go.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nolly?
Thank you, Mayor Fung. I was just going to say, echoing the statements of our city manager, it's become evidently clear that we need a dog park. I think liability is the primary concern regarding off-leash hours. What many people in the public don't know is that sometimes we have people that come forward saying that their child maybe had an encounter with a dog that was in the park and got bit. You don't oftentimes hear these stories, but you put children around some friendly dogs and maybe the dog doesn't want to be pet and the child doesn't understand that because they haven't fully comprehended that yet. So, I think there needs to be a precedence on finding reasonable area to do a dog park. I know the city manager and I spent this morning driving around multiple locations. I think one thing we should do, or I'd at least recommend, is that we bring back some of these locations for the council to consider. Regarding a dog park itself, the greatest expenditure we could probably encounter would be re-landscaping land. Putting up a chain link fence or some fencing of some sort to build a dog run, not the most expensivest thing. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, all right. Any other council members? Councilmember Riley.
Thank you. We all like dogs, and dog needs to do exercise. Given those risks, and also the Central Park have lots of kids playing there. Adults walking around there and do barbecue there. So I want to ask Tom, we don't have a dog park, but we're going to have a dog park. Do you know when the dog park gonna complete?
Yes, thank you, council member. So the dog park that we're building that you're referring to is the new renovation of the Bayside Manor Park. And that will be open by the end of the year, or we'll have a ribbon cutting first of 2026. So just in a few months.
Thank you. So problem solved. Thank you.
Quick comment regarding Councilmember Riley's statement. I feel the problem isn't solved because Bayside Manor was a location that City Manager Williams and I went to this morning. And although it is a very nice dog run, it is very much so a neighborhood park. Many of the people that have requested these off-leash hours congregate around Central Park. So I feel that there really needs to be more than just a neighborhood dog run where Bayside Manor is, especially because that location isn't going to be able to accommodate all the parking needs for these people to bring their dogs coming from the central area of Millbrae down there. So I really do feel we need to find another location. And that's it right now for my comments. I just had something else I was thinking about and completely forgot, but I'm sure I'll come back to you with it.
Well, some of the things, maybe this will refresh your memory, that the council has discussed in the past is a series of dog parks that provide that neighborhood convenience that's walkable, that's accessible. So not one dog park, but multiple dog parks within neighborhoods for accessibility and convenience. And so that's something that, we've talked about. We can certainly bring back those ideas and locations to the city council.
So, okay, all right. So, with a round discussion, I'd like to take some public comment. I think we've got 2 in-council speaker and 5 online now. And then after we take this round of public comment, we can come back and do some more discussions. All right, and we'll start with Allison Kuroda, please. Followed by Jeffrey Tang. When you're ready.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to speak to you about our wishes for...
Get close, yes, thank you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you regarding our request for off-leash hours at Central Park. We recently moved here. Just about a couple of years ago, we joined an established group of people over at Central Park. They have been doing this off-leash, dogs playing, exercising and things like that. And it had already been established for several years before we got there. And it didn't, to my knowledge, there was no problem.
Get close to the mic.
Maybe I should grow up. Let's see. So the dogs appear to be happy and healthy. The people I've been socializing with, the owners, are very responsible people. They care about their pets. We all consider them as members of our families. We treat them like members of the family. Sometimes we treat them better than some humans treat their own families. So, we do value the companionship, their friendship, their trustworthiness. It brings our blood pressure down, which I wish I had my dog right now to help me with. It became a haven for our dog. It's lush, well manicured. We want to take care of it also as owners for our dogs, for ourselves to have this enjoyment. We try not to interfere with the parties that are going on there. So if there is a big one going on, we probably wouldn't want to interfere with their activities, and we delay it to another day or a later time in the day where we wouldn't be having to interrupt their festivities. Also, most of us are from downtown, or from this area, the central area. And we use it because most of us live in apartments or have homes that have small yards or no yards at all. So this offers us, the freedom, to bring them here. And I noticed since this had been going on for several years before the off-leash hours or the leash law became enforced, we used to have a community, maybe about 20 to 30 people, but, on a regular basis, we see about 10 to 15 people. And, now, since the enforcement, just that one citation that was given out, it's gone down to like 5 or maybe 1. During the week, maybe 5 at the most. On the weekends, it could be 3 or 1 of us there. So,
Thank you for your
yeah,
comment.
I'm sorry, I forgot to
That's
give you
okay,
the
no
time.
worries. Thank you for your comment. Mr. Jeffrey Chang. And then move to online speaker after.
All right, thank you, council members, for taking the time. Really appreciate you guys putting this on the agenda so we can speak about it. I kind of want to echo a little bit of what Allison said in the sense that, there was a big dog community in Central Park. And, completely understand the city's perspective of wanting to limit liability. It's definitely not our intention to cause any undue funds being spent on things like that. I do think that at least within the group that's been there, right, generally they're very responsible owners. I know personally when I started by taking my dog to Fort Funston up in San Francisco for off leash. And even the first few times I went there, I kept him on leash until I was comfortable with her and made sure that she would, be friendly around strangers. I do think at least with this particular group, they've generally been a very responsible bunch. In terms of, a place in Central Park, there is some space it feels maybe near the Millbrae or the Millbrae Community Garden there that, just maybe with a little bit of fencing could provide some area in that park that would be suitable for the residents because many of us do live in that area. And then, I just kind of wanted to make some brief comments about, we have these existing parks, right? They're being maintained, and I think there are definitely families that utilize them, but I think as things go on, more and more families are choosing to either not have kids and only dogs or supplement their families with pets, right? And so I think in terms of attracting the next generation of families to Millbrae and helping this community grow, could be useful to just have more dog-friendly places for people to bring their pets. That's mostly it. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to consider this, and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to online speakers.
Okay, the first speaker is Elaine Chin. Please accept the unmute.
Okay, hold on. We'll move on to the online speakers. The one who's raised your hand, would you please fill out a speaker slip? And then we'll take you afterwards, okay? All right, we'll go ahead with the online speaker.
Okay, online speaker, Elaine Chen, please go ahead and accept the unmute.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. And my name is Elaine Puente. I'm here to ask the city to consider allowing off-leash hour for dogs at Millbrae Central Park. I know you guys talking about liability earlier. I totally understand. So I was thinking that I'm a dog person and I like to have as many dog parks as possible. And I know it's very challenging for Millbrae because we don't have many spaces for dog park. Because dog park needs a space, for dog to run. So, and I really appreciate today that we're talking about off-leash hour at Millbrae Central Park. So I would like to make a suggestion because I do see some empty spot, like abandoned places, the corner here and there. I was thinking that would be great for dog park, and then it's totally isolate. So, so there's no danger, kids playground over there. So I think that would be a nice place for dog park. I found the place on Green Hill. So I don't know if that would be a good spot, but I know there's an empty spot there. The Central Park, it would be the ideal, but if it's off leash over there, maybe, like just a few hours in the morning, evening, that would be great. And because we don't have anyway, we live in apartment, okay? So many residents don't have a space for dog to run to play. So we only go to the Central Park. So that's our community. That's our area. So we like to communicate with people, and the dog need to play, socialize, and run freely, you know. So anyway, so I think it would be nice to have a dog park here and there. I really appreciate that you guys are doing the Mill Estate Park, and we don't need a lot of budget for that. Just a dog park, very simple chair, and then water and fence, and that's it. So I really appreciate if you could consider off-leash hour for Millbrae Central Park. That would be great. And because nearby city that shows the off-leash hour can work well and clear with rule and sign. So I believe Millbrae can do the same thing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker is Dan F. And Mr. F., if you could please state your last name for the record.
Thank you. Yes, my last name is Ford, Daniel Ford, and I appreciate the council members' time. Thank you for considering this item. Thank you for everything you're doing to expand parks in Millbrae. This is a great city, and we're very happy to be here. And all of the parks are fantastic resources for the whole community. I just like to echo the other speakers in saying that there is a strong dog community. I think everyone recognizes it. I've heard the council members acknowledge that. I'd also agree with Councilmember Rinaldi that an ideal situation would be to have multiple dog parks across the city to meet people where they are, literally. The Central Park is such a great place, and my personal opinion is that it might be feasible to have off-leash hours marked but not fenced at some portion of Central Park, using parks in San Francisco as a model, Deboche Park, Buena Vista, et cetera, where there are multiple off-leash areas that are not fenced in. They're marked with signage and hours, and they're generally respected. I think the experience of dog owners at Central Park has generally shown that dogs and the other park users can coexist, although, of course, none of us wants children to be bitten or anything else happening to humans or dogs. So I appreciate the council members considering having the city look into this. I would love to see that activity. Two other spots that are mentioned in the agenda item that I think could also be feasible are the area at the recreation center near the tennis courts, between the tennis courts and Taylor Middle School, or what I believe to be, there's a pump house mentioned that I believe is near the Millbrae School District administration offices up on the hill above Taylor Middle School. I think if Central Park itself is not an option, either of those would be close enough to have a similar neighborhood appeal and might be easier for the city to manage as off-leash parks. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. We appreciate it.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rick St. John. Please accept the mute.
Everybody, yeah, thank you. My name's Rick St. John. I've been a Millbrae homeowner here for 15 years. Thank you to the council for taking this subject up. We really appreciate it. I'd like to just reiterate what an important part of our Millbrae community gathering with our dogs has been. And it's been a real sense of loss in terms of connection with my fellow Millbrae residents since we haven't been able to gather in the same way at Central Park. So we appreciate the work that you put in so far to look at solutions. And also, want to be respectful of the other users of the park too. That was always something that I think our community tried to do, is to really utilize the park when it felt appropriate in terms of sort of the congestion and the amount of activities that were going on there. A couple of suggestions. I think Dan brought up nicely that, there are a lot of examples in neighboring cities, Burlingame, San Francisco, who have come up with off-leash hour solutions. They must have also gone through the liability questions, so it would be useful to get their input. maybe, and another point that I would like to make that what makes a dog park really desirable as a dog owner is to have a green grass surface rather than the sort of compacted dirt or wood chip options. I think it ends up being a lot more dangerous for dogs, and they do get quite filthy in the dirt. So that would be a request to look for an option where it would be manageable to maintain a field. And then I think the last bit I would like to make is, as a dog owner community, we're here to also be a resource to the city. I think what makes these dog parks successful is really the partnership between the dog owners and the city, so that the dog owners are part of the maintaining the space and keeping the facilities in good repair, so that we're really part of helping the city maintain a really nice usable space for the dogs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next speaker is Robert Van Gool. Please accept the mute.
Yes, hello again. And again, my apologies for the snafu earlier. My name again is Robert Van Gool. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for the opportunity. And thank you for considering our requests. As everyone has already stated, we all feel a sense of loss that we no longer can meet, and our dogs can no longer meet and play with each other either. So we're really glad that this is being addressed and that the resolution, I'm confident, will be found. One other thing I want to point out that was mentioned about children potentially being bit by the dogs. We have found that children with or without their parents tend to come over when the dogs are playing to meet the dogs. Some of them are fearful, and our dogs are able to, let them overcome that fear. They're being completely supervised, and it's been a great experience seeing little kids overcoming their fears of dogs and sitting amongst the dogs and petting them. It's been really great to watch over the years. So just for consideration, just something to keep in mind. Amongst ourselves within the Millbrae dog community, we've identified the area by the tennis courts as well as the pump station, and have been discussing it for the last 6-7 months or so. Both would be very suitable. We think the pump station area would be, in terms of space, would be very suitable. It's already fenced in. It's accessible. There's parking in the area. And it would not take very much to turn that into a viable dog park. And as Rick pointed out, we would want to join the city in partnership. We're an informal, Millbrae dog community. However, if we could engage in some form of partnership to develop this further, we're here. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jean Wong. Please accept the mute.
Good evening, Mayor Fung and council members. My name is Jean Wong, and I'm going to offer a different perspective. As a 27-year resident of Millbrae, I am, and a frequent user of Central Park, I am strongly opposed to any action that would modify the current ordinance requiring all dogs to be leashed. As City Manager Williams stated, the Central Park is used by many people, including children and seniors throughout the day. Dogs off leash will pose a public, or potentially could pose a significant public safety issue to residents. Residents like myself should feel safe and comfortable using the amenities of the park without concerns for possible dog parks and health problems from dog species. Unfortunately, not all dogs are well trained, and I have witnessed many disrespectful dog owners currently ignoring the leash laws at Central Park and Spur Trail as well. I have no confidence that these disrespectful dog owners would comply with any leash requirements in the future. While I myself love dogs, I personally would not feel comfortable using Central Park or walking along Spur Trail if dogs or a number of dogs are off leash. So I thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is John or Eli Chu. Please accept the mute.
This is Jonathan Lowe and Elizabeth Chu. We are residents in Millbrae, and we've also been a part of the group going to Central Park and meeting fellow dog owners and having our dog also meet them as well. I think there's a lot of things brought up about community and a lot of good talk about, you know, how we get together, have our dogs play with each other. I think the playing aspect of dog socializing hasn't been brought up as much compared to everything else. I think having a safe space for the dogs to be together, be able to socialize and just see their friends from a daily perspective also really shows how much their spirits get uplifted, as well as their owners. I think another key area that I'd like to focus on is we're not trying to say the entire time should be off leash. We are talking about specific hours in the morning and the evenings that try to minimize the amount of foot traffic, especially with humans. The last thing anybody wants is for any liability concerns to be there. So to minimize that, but also to help grow this, well, quite honestly, ever-growing community in Millbrae is something that we're hoping these different areas, these different solutions brought up have a possibility of coming together. Do you want to add anything? Okay, I think for the most part, everything else has been added. Lots of friendly people. Everyone generally has been great to work with. Everyone generally has been quite responsible in their dogs, and I do think disciplinary action should be taken in case like certain people aren't. But overall, like the expectation should be that everyone follows the rules and that we are trying to minimize any liability concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Anna Pletcher.
Hey all. Hi all. Thank you very much for letting us speak today, Mayor Fung, and special thanks to City Councilmember Rinaldi for allowing this to come on the agenda and be discussed in an open forum. So very much appreciate the City Council hearing the feedback from the last couple of meetings. I would, you know, I don't have too much to add based off of the additional or what's been already communicated. We do, you know, San Mateo Central Park also has off-leash hours from 4 p.m. to sundown. They are also ungated or unfenced. So another opportunity for another case study potentially for review. And I do want to echo, my dog loves children and has grown to love them even more based off of going to Central Park. A lot of kids come off the playground to want to play fetch and want to interact with the dogs, even if they have dogs at home, or especially if they don't. There are quite a few older folks that also know my dog at Central Park and use him a little bit as pet therapy when they meet him, and pet him and play with him. So I think there are quite a few people in the community who do appreciate the ability to interact with friendly dogs, and would like to echo what was said about grass. I think one of the big important pieces here is that there is grass to play with or to play on. So any options if Central Park does not become a viable usage area would be to please have grass. And then I will put in some requests for hours to make it kind of a little bit more clear. The request here would be maybe from 6 to 7 a.m., 5 to 7 a.m., something earlier in the day for pet parents to be able to come to the park, use it before it's actually being fully functional through the day for the children. And then most kids are home and eating around 5:30. There's not that many people at the park. So potentially from 5 p.m. to sundown or dusk would be a viable time when there are less people in the park as well to allow for hours. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker online is Trang. Trang, if you could please state your last name for the record. Trang, please go ahead and start.
So much. Thank you, City Council members and Mayor, for your consideration, and for Councilmember Rinaldi for bringing this to the table for us. I am a resident of Millbrae, more recently in the last few years, and I only found a community here when I started going to the park and meeting those dog owners, and we would hang out in the park and get to know each other, just started feeling less dislocated and alienated. So that became part of a community. And I think we're missing a larger picture here. It's like the best parties you've ever been to, or I've ever been to, included all ages, that's intergenerational, 80-year-old grandmas, 3-year-old kids, and dogs. Right. So I'm suggesting that there might be space to accommodate all the needs, and that the dog owners, not only the dogs, but do form a large part of the Millbrae community. There was a suggestion that having dogs off leash would diminish the pleasure of some residents and people who enjoy Central Park. And I would suggest that there were also plenty of stories of delight and enjoyment and pleasure from having our dogs in the park that are not recorded. Kids coming up to the dogs, meeting them, getting to know them, and just having the pleasure of interacting with other human life, right? And then also the residents being able to share that time and space together. And I would like to echo, the other comments that the members made, which is that, as far as I've seen in the year that I've been here, and that's twice a day, being at Millbrae, Central Park with the dogs off leash, is that the dogs are better behaved, the humans are better behaved, and they're quite conscious and caring, right? Everyone is watching after, their dogs and each other's dogs. And if there's misconduct, we're very quick to sort of spot that out and alert to it. Like if there's poop on the ground, we got it. But I would also echo that our request is only for limited off-leash hours that, would enable people, lots of residents around Central Park to go there. And some of us have accessibility issues and don't have the, I guess, the pleasure of going further, to other parks, right? And it would hopefully coincide with times that would be beneficial and meet the other residents' needs. And there wouldn't be too much traffic.
Thank you. Mayor, there are no additional online speakers.
Thank you so much. And then we have one more in-chamber speaker, James Evans. Any other speakers who would like to speak on item number 9? All right. So you be the last speaker.
Thank you, City Council, and appreciate Councilmember Rinaldi's work on this and trying to put something together. I'll try and move this close to myself here. I too need to grow up. I guess in sitting here and observing this evening's proceedings, and admittedly, I very rarely go to one of these events. I think a lot of people that have chimed in have talked about community and mental health and connection with others within the community. And I think that's really what that provides. It provides it for myself, my daughter, my wife, our dog. We're a dog owner. Some would say he owns us. But anyways, I respectfully disagree with the one caller that chimed in. I've never seen any type of aggressive events. And, I got to tell you, most of these people, in fact, all these people that have gone there are, former police officers, school teachers, NASA scientists. Really pillars of the community, people that are the utmost in responsibility. I really don't see any risk I think the council here has several examples of other jurisdictions, San Francisco, San Mateo being two examples that managed to make this work. Also, I think generally speaking, the group that congregates there, they're very good at self-policing, right? So anyway, that's really all I have to say. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, thank you for your comment. All right, so that wraps up public comment on item number 9. Bring it back to the council. Anybody want to make a suggestions? Mr. Vice Mayor, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all those comments. Just a question for our city managers, our staff. When we started issuing the citations recently, was that due to any, specific incidents that occurred there? Or, because I use the park frequently. I take my son there after school. And up until recently, when there would be a lot of dogs on the park, something that was noticeable, but I don't think I ever noticed any real problems other than maybe I know there were some complaints maybe about it, kind of a general sort of sense of disorder and dog kind of taking over the park, but any real concrete issues that were raised before the enforcement started?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. We've had 2 employees that have been bit over the last year. And also, I do receive complaints of dogs being off leash and people not being able to enjoy Central Park. I'm out there quite a bit also. And there are a lot of dogs that are there that are not on leashes. So I think, this is a tough situation. I mean, 9 out of 10 people are going to be responsible. Everybody that showed up here tonight are going to be responsible. But if you adopt a law that says dogs are allowed to be off leash, and there's that one irresponsible owner, maybe not even live in Millbrae, maybe they live somebody else, and they bring their pit bull and they're not a responsible dog owner, and they maul a child at the playground, we're going to be responsible for it. And that's the research that we haven't done, but I think that's common law and common sense in terms of our liability. And that's my concern, right? That 9 out of 10, totally responsible. And we heard tonight what the demand is, right? And I think, again, I think it's incumbent upon us to find facilities and build facilities to meet the demand and not kind of, to me, and I don't know, we do have to look at the liability in our insurance and all that if we so direct, and maybe that's where we need to go. But we have had reports of dog bites to employees. We've had reports of people complaining about people with off-leash dogs and not being able to enjoy the park.
Okay.
And then also, sorry, Vice Mayor, the other thing too is during COVID, a lot of things were relaxed, right? And I think this may be some of the, pre-COVID, during COVID for a few years that, we did not enforce a lot of things other than if it was by complaint. And because now 2024, 2025, with the complaints, we started to enforce it. Remember, dogs are allowed in Central Park or any of our parks when they're on a leash. So it's not like they're not allowed,
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's abundantly clear that we need a dog park. We've needed a dog park for a long time here in Millbrae. We've tried to identify a number of different sites. We supposedly had this contract with the San Francisco PUC about their property, and then we didn't. I don't know what happened there, but I know we've looked at parts of the Spur Trail. We've looked at Monterey Park. I think it's great that we're going to be opening a dog park at Bayside Manor, but that really is not a central location. I don't think that's a solution other than for residents of that neighborhood, just because of the access, because of the parking, everything else there. So, I mean, I think the Central Park idea, I don't think it's a perfect solution, but I don't think it's something that we should just immediately, discard right off the bat. I think it's something worth looking into a little bit until we have some other better, more permanent solution. Maybe as some type of a pilot program. And I think it is worth reaching out to a couple of the neighboring cities that have had off-leash hours. Burlingame, San Mateo were both mentioned, to ask about how it's been going over there. Have there been issues? What kind of enforcement do they do? And, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You could, if it's a pilot program, you can always end the pilot program. So that's, I think what I would recommend is at least to continue to do a little bit more research before definitively saying yes or no.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I agree with that. Some more research if the council so directs. I mean, there are other areas, and I probably shouldn't say this because we'll have as many people show up at the next council meeting complaining, but you know, I keep looking at where the community garden is, and that's a very valuable asset. Of course, we get a lot of people from the multifamily units that have spaces there. But I keep looking at that and thinking that would make an ideal dog park. It's in Central Park, it's up on the hill, it's away. And maybe part of the solution is reworking and rethinking the location of the community garden. I think everybody's familiar with where the community garden is. I mean, that would be really ideal. It could be fenced off, centrally located as you know, residents have stated. It's large enough. There's water there for pet fountains and human fountains. So if the council so directs, these are the things that I think we should look at and be innovative and try to come up with a solution for sure.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try to chime in here a little bit here. By the way, just for full transparency, I also have a cat at home recently for a few months now. And I love to take my cat to a park nearby because that's where I recreate, and I want to make sure that I can recreate with my family member, which the cat counts. Now, I've said that before, and I'm going to say that again. I think every park that we build should have a pet element because we recreate close to where we are, and your pet is your family member. And just like what we've been hearing tonight, you know, and I truly believe 99.99% of the pet owners are very responsible owners. And we want to make sure we protect everybody. And not just that 0.01%, but as well as all the 90, and more importantly, the 99.99% of us. So to that extent, you know, and I do recognize the need of some sort of a pet element at a Central Park area where, you know, folks who lives around that area and that district surrounding area, recognizing there's a lot of multifamily, have access to that park with their pets. And sometimes when they need to exercise, they need to run, and they need free roaming time. So then I recognize the need of that. Now, obviously, we will continue to look for sites to build the dog park should and when we find one as quickly as possible. But just as I said a moment ago, the philosophy at which, you know, we've had the, on the Millbrae Avenue, there is a permanent dog run there, correct, City Manager? Next to the Station 16 apartments?
You're correct. The new development has a publicly accessible dog run.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the new Marina Vista Park is going to have also a pet element in there, correct? Before the end of the year?
The Bayside Manor.
Bayside, excuse me, Bayside Manor. Right, so that's the second one. We've been discussing lately on the Mills Estate Park, which also would most likely have a pet element in there as well. So the idea of implementing a pet element in every park moving forward should be something that we heavily consider. So having said that, the Central Park should be no exception. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is we can make sure that we meet the need of the pet owners and the dog owners by considering some appropriate location within the Central Park to fence it off for off-leash pet access, where the rest of the park, you know, still be requiring a leash. And then moving forward, you know, with the philosophy that I just described, every park should have a pet element where folks can recreate with their family members, with their pet family members, close to where they live. And then should and when, as soon as possible, find a single location where a dog park can be built with greater features, then we will do so. And I think being in this line of work for close to 5 years now, and sitting in this seat for as long as I have. It's all about balance. It's about balancing the need of those who spoke, as well as those who are sitting at home listening to all of these conversations, and who may not have spoken. So there are just as many community members who are pushing a stroller with an infant, walking in Central Park, and they would be just as vocal if they're concerned about the pet with the 0.1% owner who may or may not be responsible. So protecting everyone, and then when I speak about liability a moment ago, it's not just about the financial liability as much as our fiduciary duty to protect the safety of every community member who lives in the city. And that's, to me, is the greatest responsibility that we're all chartered to do. So with that said, I think I'm being clear here in terms of what I think. I'd like to offer a suggestion to consider is to somewhere within the Central Park. If it's close to the community garden, great. If it's not, we'll find a location somewhere within the Central Park. Find a piece of area where it could be fenced off with minimal cost to make it dedicated for off-leash use, where the rest of the park will continue its current use with its current ordinance. That's kind of what I see as a balance I'd like to offer for this council for consideration. Councilmember Rinaldi.
Thanks, Mayor Fung. I think you hit on quite a few great points. One being public safety aspect of it. I know we haven't seen anything horrific. Also from plenty of the people that have participated in the conversation, their due diligence and thoughtfulness and wanting to partner with the city on a solution. I'm looking at this holistically right now. And the first thought that goes off in my mind when entertaining this discussion is the liability aspect, whether it be financial or public safety. What is the cost of doing this? We did talk about having a park attendant as a new position. So these off-leash hours that were suggested to us, would it be possible to have the park attendant there to monitor those off-leash hours? The compliance enforcement aspect of it, hearing the public so willingly to help out, wanting to make sure that, it's a safe park experience with the off-leash hours, that's encouraging to hear that as well. But one question that I have, actually two questions. One, if we did do dog parks all throughout the city, would that suffice for this specific community, dog community, as a solution? And I can tell you, when it came to Mills Estate planning, there were a lot of folks from the community that were very vocal on the need for off-leash hours, but not many that said, we definitely want to have a dog park in Mills Estate. I think one of the speakers made a great point. I can't remember their first name. Maybe it's Trang. Transportation issues came up. So I can understand that. So I think what my suggestion would be back to this council is, why don't we look at a holistic solution here and take everything into accountability? Propose locations where we can look to put a potential dog park, potentially instituting what off-leash hours would look like. I think if we're going to approach the subject, we should approach it holistically and look at all options, and then be able to make a more educated and informed decision.
Okay, thank you for your suggestions. Anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add one enforcement issue that I think we forgot to mention. The city ordinance is adopted after the county ordinance, and so it's the county sheriff that is enforcing, I believe, the leash laws. Is that correct?
No, it's the county under contract with SPCA.
Okay. So I think, Mr. City Manager, you had mentioned earlier, outside of this meeting, but you had mentioned if there are non-leash hours, it raises the question of whether the enforcement would still be able to be continued through that same contract.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. We did discuss, I used our tobacco ordinance as an example, that for the county to enforce our tobacco ordinance, we have to adopt the specific ordinance that the county adopted for them to enforce it. Same thing with our animal regulation. And so we would have to look into if the council was to adopt off-leash hours, would the county and SPCA still provide animal control enforcement for the city, or if they would abandon us and we would have to enforce that ourselves. So this is some of the due diligence and research that we need to look at, as we mentioned in the staff report.
I mean, it sounds more than likely that if we were to go a different route in terms of legislatively, rather than building a separate facility within Central Park for off-leash access, then it's more than likely that we need to be on our own in terms of code enforcement.
Correct. Yeah, what the sheriff, so the sheriff as a policing agency, they enforce the municipal code and local laws. Then with the adoption of our animal control ordinance, that's where we have animal control that is contracted through a county-wide contract with municipalities in the county with SPCA to provide animal enforcement for the city. So it's something we would definitely have to look into.
All right, thank you. So, Councilmember Ronaldo, you mentioned a moment ago some sort of a animal ambassador is what was the term you were using? I'm sorry.
It was in regards to a role that we voted on probably, I don't know, was it a month or two ago, Mr. City Manager, for, parks attendants is possibly one of these new roles that we were looking to hire for.
So is it, if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're proposing is having a park attendants to be on site during the off-leash hours?
As one potential solution. I think, to be really clear, what I'm looking at is we can all understand that there's a need to accommodate the dog park situation. And I can tell you, in my experience being the liaison of Park and Recs Department, many of the comments that I've heard from the dog community is the desire for Central Park to continue being the location where they can enjoy their recreation with their family member, whether it be a dog or, their companion. So my suggestion to this council would be, this is an issue that we've heard about, whether we agendize it tonight or in offshoot conversations that we've had over our time in these seats. I think we should just look at it holistically, discuss locations for potential dog parks, discuss the potential for off-leash hours, and understand, how would that impact our public safety? Would it affect our insurance with ABAG? Really trying to wrap our arms around it, because the one thing that I'm hearing throughout this conversation are unknowns. So in order to make an informed decision, I think it would be wise to have city staff direct them to come back with some information so we can boil it down to a plan of action of how we would implement this.
So in consideration of the off-leash hours, are you proposing limited to Central Park, or is it all parks?
I would say limit it to Central Park, because that has been the primary request as of today. So I think we need to get more information on what goes into off-leash hours and understanding how that would affect not only the insurance policy, but also public safety.
Right. So, and the amount of off-leash hours you're thinking about?
I think we would start with what the suggested hours are right here that were presented today. I think someone had made the comment of 6 to 7 a.m. and then 5 to dusk. The one concern I do have with 5 to dusk, though, is weekend use. If we have people that are out there, maybe they're celebrating a birthday or they're having a barbecue, the weekend hours, you can guarantee that later on in the evening, there's probably going to be more residents wanting to enjoy the park. So I do have a little concern with that. But my suggestion would be, let's come back and have some more information regarding the off-leash hours. There's neighboring cities that have entertained this from what we're hearing. So let's get the facts so we can make a more informed decision.
Right. So what I'm hearing is 6 to 7 in the morning and then 5 to dusk.
Correct. You could even go 5 to 7 a.m. in the morning
5 to 7 a.m.
for those early risers that have early jobs.
So we're talking about, what, about 4 or 5 hours a day? Thereabout?
Correct.
And for those hours, that will be a park attendant as part of those off-leash hours to ensure.
It's something we'd have to
enforcement.
analyze. Obviously, the park attendant's a single role, so we're not going to have them, come in for a couple hours in the morning and cut out, then come back at dusk. So we'd have to try to wrap our arms around that if we were going to have a park attendant there. I'm just curious to see how these other cities are managing this, like San Francisco, San Mateo, and Burlingame, and see if their models are working for them or not.
So I think part of that would also be, sort of a budgetary perspective, right? If we are to sort of man that station during those hours, between 5 to 7, 5 to dusk, whatever that might be, those 4 or 5 hours a day, what that annual budget would look like, I'll get that in a second, as compared to, let's say have an area dedicated for just off-leash activities where no such attendant is required, but it's just capital expenses on building that section. Something to think about, right, in terms of fiscal and where would make sense the most. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Burlingame or San Mateo, but I would imagine they probably don't have an attendant there every single day for off-leash hours. So maybe if it was some type of, sporadic enforcement where, once or twice a week, either the parks attendant or maybe we have one of the sheriff's deputies drop by just to show like, hey, we are looking at this. For the people who are regular users, they're aware that the city's on top of the enforcement. And I do agree. I mean, I think, a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the evening, I think makes sense. I agree. Weekends, probably we would not have the evening hours due to a number of rentals. One other thing to consider in the winter, it's usually dark by 5 o'clock anyway, so we might want to just put in specific hours like 5 to 7 or something like that instead of 5 to dusk.
Just going to make a real quick comment. Mayor Fung, I think you brought up some great points around the financial aspect of this. One of the conversations we had a few months ago when we talked about the park attendant is hiring them to manage said parks. I understand it's probably not likely that we could have a park attendant there at all times, but part of the reason for asking city staff to look into the off-leash hours, possibility of the park attendant, understanding the financials, it could help guide us to our decision. So that way, when we make the decision, it's informed and it has reason and logic behind it. Because the last thing I want to do is just tell people, hey, we heard you, we listened to you, but we really didn't act on it by looking into the specifics behind it. And, we're going to go with a one-size-fits-all approach to this. So I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice, the members of our public a disservice, if we really didn't have a holistic look into this and understanding, is it going to be not beneficial from a cost perspective to do off-leash hours? Should we just consider having closed-in areas for dog runs? I would like to have that information before making the decision. That would be my ask.
Yeah, okay. Mr. City Manager, what would likely, obviously we'll come back for some more educated analysis, but just kind of more of a finger in the wind, looking at it, finding an area to fence it off for off-leash, pet access, dog runs, whatever that might be, in the Central Park area, perhaps somewhere, may or may not be close to the community garden. I'm not saying I'm not going to advocate replacing the community garden. That's not what I'm saying. Somewhere close to that, because that's sort of an area where it's, you mentioned a moment ago, has access to water with some basic features so that it'll be fitting to having a pet run. Coming up with some kind of a guesstimate, on this, one-time capital cost expenses. Is that a possible thing to do?
You're asking for a timeline? How much time do we need
Timeline
to
and
analyze it?
Analyze, propose a location with a cost guesstimate.
Yeah, I think, so my recommendation, living in the city for over 30 years.
Right.
I think to limit ourselves to Central Park, as long as we're going to do this, because I've thought a lot about this. I've talked to our engineers and parks folks, that not only Central Park, but also other areas. There's an area at Green Hills Park that's ideally suited. It's got grass. It's accessible to the neighborhood. When we had this discussion, I think when the vice mayor was on the council previously, the linear trail and linear park off of Monterey Street. The residents there were opposed to it, but since we've redeveloped Marina Vista Park, we've received quite a few inquiries and support for turning that into a dog park. So my suggestion is don't limit us just to Central Park. I hear you loud and clear on finding a location in Central Park. And I'm not saying eliminate the garden either, but perhaps at least a study, maybe we relocate it. Two members of the community tonight identified the area between Taylor School and the tennis courts. Well, maybe we can relocate the community garden there and look at an area, a larger area up there. So I'm just saying, if we're going to do a holistic, let's look at it holistically and think outside of the box and really bring back some ideas and solutions. Maybe they're not good, maybe they are, so that would be my recommendation. Let's kind of go study it, bring it back. Obviously the liability, our insurance company. I'm not too concerned about the cost, the park service attendant and managing those hours and things like that. I don't see that being a constraint. I see the liability, insurance, enforcement, not from our law enforcement personnel, but from our animal control personnel. So those are the things really we need to research, putting together ideas. Maybe we have a study session, instead of a hearing like this. And just we look at it and really try to do the right thing and accommodate and think through this.
Would it be fair to say bring back a couple options based on, certain off-leash hours versus, having a dedicated area within Central Park where, dogs can run free?
Yeah, Mayor, yes, we will look, sorry to interrupt, we will look at that also, the alternative of off-leash hours. I think somebody brought up one of the parks, I think that you said in San Francisco or San Mateo, there's designated off-leash hours. They're not fenced, but designated. I'd like to research that and see how they do that and how that's enforced. And if an off dog, dogs are dogs, right? This is the other thing too that I researched a little bit. Somebody has a dog, and what if it runs out into the street? And so how do we think about the dog and control that? And I'm not saying the owners tonight. Yeah. Obviously they're responsible and community members, but it's that one time or two. But anyway, to answer your question, we will look at that as well. Yeah. Strictly off-leash hours in Central Park and how
bring back
look.
both scenarios, and then we can have another discussion on it at some point soon.
Yeah, a wide menu of options and opportunities and.
Yeah, and then we can bring it back for an agenda item in the near future, and then try to have a decision.
Yeah, I think time-wise, they're sitting here thinking, give us a couple of months.
Okay.
So maybe second meeting in February, first meeting in March. I know everybody's chomping at the bit. We'll work as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think that would probably be realistic.
I think the timeline makes sense. I mean, we have the holidays coming in, and we don't want to rush this. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. So
Okay.
I'm willing to make the motion if you'd like to entertain it.
Yeah, please. Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Rinaldi and a second from Mr. Vice Mayor to bring back both options for future discussions.
So kind of the holistic.
Yeah,
Okay.
off-leash hours with, park attendants.
Various locations,
Various-
what it would look like just at Central
And
Park.
the locations
Okay.
with, say, for example, Central Park, a dedicated area for off-leash access, and cost model on both.
Okay.
Liability discussions, and try to make some decisions
Yep.
in the first quarter of 2026.
Yeah, and I think for the public, we're not eliminating the community garden. We're not. We're just looking at alternatives. That's all I really wanted to say, because, we all know land is precious.
Yeah. Very well. All right. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
I'd also like to add to the potential proposal is how we're tracking, because it was mentioned that you had 2 employees that were bitten. Can we expand on that, right? Be able to track a lot of those issues holistically, not anecdotally, right? We want to keep it to emotionless data so that we know we're separating from, the vocal minority versus the silent majority that may not be saying things, right? That's one way to get to the ground truth.
Yes, most certainly.
All right, thank you.
All right. Are we all set? Your votes, please.
Pardon me. City Council directed staff to return with research options and proposed pet areas in city parks and return with proposals in 2026, like second meeting in February or first meeting in March. The motion passed by 5-0.
Okay, thank you all. And that takes us to council comment. I'd like to ask everyone to be brief because we also have a closed session after this. Who would like to begin? Councilmember Nguyen.
I'll be quick. So as Kathleen mentioned from EDAC, we do have a business mixer coming up. This is an important event for any business entrepreneurs in Millbrae. It's a great way to network, but even better is to learn from other successful business owners within Millbrae and learn from them, learn from their mistakes so that they don't repeat it. I just wanted to throw it out there. I also have the links. I work directly with Carlos Reyes from the South San Francisco who runs this. I'm happy to share that with anyone that's interested. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilmember Rinaldi.
Sure, thanks. I'll go real quick. Had a great weekend with CERT. We just turned out about 30 graduates, people coming in from Hillsborough, Burlingame. We had people as far away as Vallejo that came in as well. So big thanks to everyone that helped participate in that, and congratulations to our most recent CERT graduates. Last but not least, also had the opportunity to attend the LAFCO annual conference and board meeting. LAFCO is Local Agency Formation Commission, which I sit on for the county as a city council member, as well as other city council members from other cities here. So I had a really good conference, got to meet a lot of people throughout the state. It was highly productive. And so that's it, short, brief.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I attended last night the Sister Cities Commission meeting, and they had a very important agenda item, as I'm sure many people have been eagerly waiting for, the naming or recommended naming of the proposed Japanese garden yet to be built. And ready, the name that was voted upon by the Sister Cities Commission as a recommendation was Hanyu Garden. Just two words, Hanyu Garden. And my understanding is that recommendation will now go to the Parks and Recreation Commission for their recommendation, and perhaps ultimately to the council for the final decision. Thank you.
Forgot the drum roll. Here we go. Okay. Nothing. Okay. All right. So, yeah, thank you. I don't have much for tonight. We're just going to go right into the closed session. And then if there's any report out, it'll be next council meeting. So thank you all. We're adjourned this regular session at 9:33 p.m.
Going into closed session.
Okay, so we're now open the closed session, part of the agenda. Is there any public comments?
No speaker slip or hands raised online.
Closing public comment. So may we now adjourn to the closed session
Mr.
meeting?
Mayor, further, is it okay procedurally to report out at the next council meeting?
Yes.
Rather than come back? So we don't
Yeah.
need to come back and reconvene?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.